The wolf, a symbol of beauty and strength, represents both good and evil and ferocity. The wolf is also one of the deities in Norse mythology and raised the two sons of the war god Ares, Romulus and Remus, the founders of Rome. Over 10,000 years, the first animal domesticated by humans was also the wolf. To this day, the wolf remains a friend, but also an enemy to humankind. However, after all this time, there are still many things we do not know about this mysterious creature. The common fur colours for wolves are white and grey. However, a small number of them have a uniquely special black coat. The truth is, this is not their natural colour. A 2008 study from Stanford University showed that a specific gene determining black fur only appears in dogs. Therefore, black wolves are likely the result of hybridization. The gene for this black coat is dominant, so it is passed down to most offspring. Although black wolves may not be excellent hunters, they have a stronger immune system. Black wolves are almost exclusively found in the cold regions of North America. Purebred wolves seem to be quite rare today, while the population of hybrid wolves is thriving due to environmental conditions. For many years, human population shifts to the east have shrunk the wolf's natural habitat, creating more hybrid wolves, which now make up a large proportion of the population. Hybrid wolves are typically smaller than purebreds and are extremely intelligent. They can adapt to urban or residential areas, partly because hunting in their natural habitats has significantly reduced the number of purebred wolves. Cannibalism is quite common in the world of wolves. Living in an extremely harsh environment, often in cold regions with scarce food sources and competition from other predators, they are forced to eat injured or sick wolves within the pack. When two packs fight over territory, a fierce clash often occurs, and the losers become prey for the victors. It is a fact that they sometimes are forced to eat their own offspring. We often picture wolves as agile and nimble, but some species can weigh up to nearly 100 kilograms, about 220 pounds. Wolves in tropical regions tend to be smaller, comparable to medium-sized dogs. But the further north you go, to Alaska, Canada and Russia, the larger they become. The largest wolf ever killed in North America was in Alaska in 1939, weighing nearly 90 kilograms, about 198 pounds. Usually, these are the alpha wolves, as they are always well fed by other members of the pack. Unlike many other animals that become lethargic, disoriented, and lie down before the disease fully manifests, wolves with rabies are extremely dangerous. They seem to go into an immediate frenzy and may attack any animal around them, even those larger than themselves. Most wolf attacks on humans are due to the animals being rabid. Although this situation has become less common and there is treatment for bites from rabid animals, wolves tend to attack and bite the neck and head, making most cases extremely dangerous. In normal circumstances, wolves tend to avoid animals larger than themselves. In reality, wolves in the Americas are quite gentle and less likely to attack humans than those elsewhere. There are very few records of wolf attacks on people in the US and Canada, whereas the opposite is true for Europe and Asia. According to records, over 3,000 people were killed in wolf attacks in France between the 1600s and 1800s. Wolves in India and Russia are most famous for their ferocity and aggression. During World War I, the Allied forces struggled to fend off attacks from hungry wolf packs attracted by the scent of blood. Dog and wolves. This fact is quite surprising, since the two species share a common ancestry and will even readily mate with each other. However, some wolves consider dogs their favourite prey. Even large dogs that wander into wolf territory become a tasty meal. A smaller wolf can easily defeat a large dog, thanks to its sharp teeth and fatal bites to the neck. In Russia, during the period after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, many remains of unfortunate dogs that had become prey for wolves were discovered. During the Middle Ages in Europe, the outbreak of the bubonic plague killed thousands of people. Corpses were often piled up to be buried or cremated, and naturally, wolves were drawn to them. During that time, the main food source for wolves was the corpses from the pandemic. Gradually, they grew accustomed to the new taste, and humans became a primary item on the wolf's menu. Wolf attacks on people increased at an alarming rate, and from this, stories of werewolves were spread among the gullible and became increasingly popular. Similar to the situation in Europe, smallpox in America inadvertently turned wolves into a fearsome enemy of humans. During this period, wolves frequently attacked human settlements, especially those of native tribes. People weakened by the disease became easy prey. Realizing this easy food source, wolves grew bolder, attacking residential areas and becoming a source of terror for humankind during that time. This was a stark contrast to their usual behavior of hiding in remote areas and forests, far from human habitation. Wolves can eat anything to survive, even animals that have been dead for a long time. However, in good living conditions with abundant food, wolves can be quite selective. They usually prefer large hooved animals like deer and elk, and they only eat when the prey is still fresh. If they don't finish their meal, they will leave it behind without storing it for later. The wolf is one of the most successful species in the world, with a wide distribution across the Northern Hemisphere. Usually when we talk about wolves, we're referring to the grey wolf, large dog-like animals. However, in North America, there is another wolf species that has been even more successful in terms of distribution and survival. Its habitat has not shrunk over the past century. On the contrary, it has expanded by 40%. This species is the coyote. The coyote has managed to outcompete other predators in the same area and has expanded its habitat by 40% over the last 100 years. To achieve this, the coyote benefited from a trifecta of factors. First was the sharp decline of more powerful predators like the grey wolf, creating an opportunity for the coyote's rapid growth. The second factor was the rapid pace of urbanization. Other wild animals could not adapt to human society, but the coyote could coexist with people. The final factor came from the large number of pet dogs kept by humans, as well as feral dogs. They interbred with coyotes, providing a new source of genes and helping them escape the bottleneck of inbreeding, allowing their numbers to grow rapidly. The coyote is a small to medium-sized wolf species native to North America. Compared to its close relative, the grey wolf, it is much smaller, with an average weight of only 7 to 20 kilos, 15 to 44 pounds. According to official records, the largest known coyote weighed 34 kilos, about 75 pounds. It was a male discovered in Wyoming, USA in 1937. In terms of appearance, the coyote is very similar to the grey wolf, but its muzzle is more pointed, giving it a more cunning look, and it somewhat resembles a fox. Due to its wide distribution, the coyote's fur colour is heavily influenced by its environment. For example, coyotes living in the western deserts are predominantly greyish-white, while those in the highlands are mostly brownish-grey. As a member of the dog family, coyotes naturally live in packs. But they have a more omnivorous diet and rarely hunt large hooved animals. Consequently, their pack sizes are much smaller than those of North American grey wolves. Most coyote packs are small family units or just a male-female pair. Meanwhile, coyotes living in cities or suburbs often operate alone. Occasionally, unrelated coyotes may form a relatively large, temporary group, mainly when hunting large prey or when they are solitary individuals. Past experience and general rules tell us that the expansion of human activity shrinks the habitats of wild animals, following the general rule that as humans advance, animals retreat. But this rule does not apply to the coyote. In the last 100 years, the coyote's habitat has expanded by 40% and shows signs of continuing to expand, even moving down into South America. They can be seen frequently on the streets of the United States. They are not afraid of people, scavenging for leftovers like stray dogs, and treating the urban environment as their home. Over time, they have learned the rules of city life, knowing how to avoid traffic when crossing the street, nesting in dark corners of parking lots, and even jumping onto rooftops in New York to get a better vantage point. Before 1900, they only lived in Mexico, the western United States, and a small part of Canada. However, in the following years, their habitat expanded rapidly. By 2016, when people began to seriously study and survey this species, they discovered that coyotes had inhabited almost every part of North America. Especially in Central America, coyotes are present almost everywhere. Over the last century, the human world has developed rapidly, but urbanization has clearly had no negative impact on coyotes. In fact, it has opened up a new world for them, as a large part of their 40% habitat expansion has been in cities and suburban areas. The rapid growth of the coyote population also affects human life. After all, it is still a fierce predator. Although incidents of harm to humans are rare, many people believe they pose a threat to children and pet cats and dogs. Therefore, in many places they have been hunted to eliminate this potential danger. Especially after the beginning of the 19th century, hunting methods have been continuously upgraded, from primitive hunting and trapping to modern methods like helicopter hunting. The United States kills 400,000 coyotes each year, but this has not been able to stop the growth of the coyote population. Why can coyotes thrive so quickly? There are many reasons. First, although North America has no tigers or leopards, it has similar predators like mountain lions and grey wolves. In the coyote's North American habitat, they compete with mountain lions for food. The competition between species is fierce, and the coyote is often the weaker party. However, compared to mountain lions, grey wolves are the primary killers of coyotes. Coyotes are too similar to grey wolves in every aspect, and their dietary preferences are more like those of grey wolves than mountain lions. According to scientific research, the number of coyotes in areas where grey wolves are found is about 30% lower than in areas without them. Coincidentally, in the 19th century, due to human activities, the grey wolf's habitat was severely destroyed, causing their numbers to decline significantly in North America. At that time, there were very few grey wolves left. By the 20th century, the grey wolf had disappeared from most areas. And the absence of this rival opened up a golden age for the coyote's expansion. Furthermore, after entering the 20th century, humans paid more attention to protecting animals and the environment. Many wildlife species began to thrive. For example, in the suburbs of some US states, the deer population exploded, which also provided favourable conditions for the coyote's growth. Previously, coyote fur was an important material for trade, but after the second half of the 20th century, many animal protection regulations were enacted, and the North American fur trade market collapsed. This led to a sharp decline in the coyote trade, allowing the coyote population to thrive even more. Besides these favourable external factors, the reason coyotes have been able to thrive as they have today is also related to their own abilities. Most fierce predators are carnivores, but the coyote seems to be an exception. It is an omnivore, much like a domestic dog, eating almost anything it can find. In the city, they rummage through trash cans, scavenging for leftovers. Whether it's fruit peels, bones, rice or noodles, even peppers, coyotes can eat it all and are never picky. Coyotes can quickly adapt to urban life. In addition to their strong survival skills, another crucial factor is that they are not reproductively isolated from grey wolves and domestic dogs. After interbreeding with grey wolves and domestic dogs, the introduction of new genes has enriched the coyotes' genetic diversity and helped them avoid the problems of inbreeding. Humans have also actively hunted and killed coyotes, so why has their population continued to grow so rapidly? The main reason is that this species is evolving to become closer to and has become a relative of the domestic dog. In reality, they are two very similar animals. When coyotes in a certain area are nearly wiped out by hunting, according to past patterns, any population would grow slowly or even decline due to the effects of inbreeding. However, with the presence of pet and feral dogs, coyotes don't have to worry about this, and their population can still grow rapidly. Mating with grey wolves, and especially domestic dogs, not only allows coyotes to easily bypass the bottleneck of inbreeding, but also significantly enhances their ability to adapt to human society. Many wild animals, such as snow leopards, maned wolves and wild rabbits, face numerous problems when kept in captivity. They are prone to diseases like tuberculosis, pneumonia and enteritis. However, coyotes not only avoid getting sick after entering the city, but, on the contrary, become healthier and live longer.